Good evening, everyone. My name is Zon Eastis.
Everybody.
Okay, that's right. We'll go ahead and start and let people in. My name is Zon Eastis, and I'd like to call to order the Select Board meeting of Monday, September the 11th, the regularly warned meeting. Welcome, everyone. Please make sure if you're in the room that you've signed in, and if you're, everyone's properly got first and last name online, so we're in good order. There's Anna who would like to come in. All right, so we'll start first with our rules of procedure. Rusty?
The Select Board has a set of rules and procedures that are for all Guilford public meetings and are now shared with all committees and commissions. They are here in the chat online and published in the town website. These rules request that everyone present at the meeting conduct themselves in a civil manner. Tonight, individuals will have responsible time to comment on actions the Select Board is considering. Comments and questions will inform the Select Board's decision-making process. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Comments will be heard, not responded to. There will be no exchange between the Select Board and a commenter. No questions will be responded to. Any questions will be recorded and responded to in a timely fashion. Additionally, here in the room and in the chat online, there is some basic information which includes how to contact Select Board members, how to secure a spot during the community comment portion of the meeting, how to get on the agenda, and how to communicate with the board via mail or email.
Thank you, Rusty. Thanks very much. Okay. And I'd like to just say, along those same lines, one more additional statement, because it's happened a couple times lately, that comments from our community are certainly welcome at appropriate times during the meeting. And by Vermont statute, all those comments need to be addressed to the chair. It's not okay to address individual Select Board members with comments. Just saying that. Okay, so we will then move on to welcoming of the public and turn it over to Veranda here.
Okay, before I call Kathy, I just wanted to acknowledge, how lucky we are to be conducting democracy on this somber anniversary. I always feel it. Okay, Kathy?
Thank you.
Kathy, would you be willing to come up here? Sorry for the trouble, but thanks very much. That way our viewing public will be able to see you very carefully.
And I can see you. There are 2 eclipses coming up. And I want you to know all of the wonderful things that the library is planning to celebrate and acknowledge those events. First of all, on Wikipedia, there is a list of 52 books, fiction, that has an eclipse as a main character or a deus ex machina. And we will have just a few of them at the library. Just a few, but whatever's available through Indie Library Zone, people can borrow, which is kind of neat. If anyone wants to go, all 52, that would be a wonderful challenge. Books like Dolores Claiborne by Stephen King, and King Solomon's Mine, and Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court were the ones that I got excited about and thought I should have, but then I discovered 52. We're going to be doing activities that help people create ways to view the eclipse without destroying their eyes, which is, I think the whole impetus for me was safety and making sure that everyone knew not to look directly at the eclipse. And to go along with that, libraries throughout the country are receiving 5 million eclipse viewing glasses, and we're getting 500 of them to share with people when they come to our activities. So leading up to the first one, which is in October, Guilford will see about 20% of it. And it's an annular eclipse, which isn't a full eclipse of the sun. It's the moon isn't big enough or in the right place to give that ring of fire, but there's a bigger ring of fire. But we'll only get to see 20%. Leading up to that October event, we're planning a lot of focusing on the solar system. We started at the fair with showing people how to make a pocket solar system. A solar system that's this big gives you an idea. If the sun's here, if Pluto is here, here's Earth. Gives you an idea of the solar system. We're planning an event that will mark the distance from the sun to Pluto by working it down to the fire station to the library and putting signs up to tell you where you're at. Oh, I'm at Mars, and here I am at somebody's house on Guilford Center Road. Thinking of things like having people make a list of all the moon songs. Do you have any songs have the moon in it? Wow. The NASA will be televising the eclipses and the Ring of Fire, and so we're planning to have that connected on our webpage just so that people can see it if they forgot it's coming, which is very hard to do because the one in April, we're going to see 95% of it. And if any of you have relatives around Burlington, I would suggest making plans to go visit them on April 24th because there aren't any hotel rooms in Burlington already.
Oh, wow.
That's wild.
And the last thing I found out was there are a lot of eclipses in folklore too, like the dragon swallowed the sun, things like that. That's all about the eclipses. I also want to invite you all to a hot dog roast at the library on September 20th. 4:30 to dark. And I hope you all can come and meet trustees and campers and library staff and friends of the library and people who use the library. Any questions?
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All done, Brenda?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. All right, we'll move ahead. Thanks very much, Kathy. It's delightful to learn about those things. I'm sure we'll learn a lot more as we go. Let's move ahead to changes to the agenda. I'm not aware of any tonight, so we'll just keep zipping right through. So next is approval of the minutes of the last meeting of August 28th.
I so move.
All right, thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rusty. Any discussion here at the board? Okay, we're all in the room, so a voice vote works. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Thanks very much. Oh, gosh. Yeah. We'll move on to updates and reports from our various parts of the town. So we're ready to start with you. Are you ready to start with us, Eric?
Yeah, I can do it.
All right, great, thank you. So for those of you who are watching and maybe haven't heard this yet, we've added a bit to the updates and reports section of our agenda so that we can hear from the town administrator on a regular basis. So thanks, Eric.
Okay, so I would like to remind everyone that the town office will be closed tomorrow, September 12th, and Thursday, September 13th, because Ellie and Danielle, our town treasurer and town clerk, are going up to, I believe it's Fairleigh, for a treasurer and town clerk training event. So,
Mr. Chairman, I think, isn't that Tuesday and Wednesday, not Tuesday and Thursday?
Tuesday and Wednesday, yeah, sorry.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Good. I have a message, I don't know if I put it in the folder. BCTV is having their annual board meeting, and the public is invited to that, and all the select board members have been invited to that, and that is Wednesday, September 13th at 6 p.m. at the Brattleboro Municipal Center at BCTV's room 306 there, and there's studio tours, refreshments, and everybody from BCTV will be there for the annual meeting of their board of directors, so everyone is welcome to go to that. I also received a report from DV Fiber. It's their annual, I don't know if it's annual actually, they had a professional audit done, and there's a lot of information about DV Fiber's finances in here. So I have that, if anybody would like to see it, I have it on file. And that's just part of our relationship with DV Fiber and their communication with towns in their purview.
I can say that it's an annual report.
It's annual, yeah,
annual
so
audit
we
report,
have a
yeah.
copy of that here on file, if anyone would like to see it. It's probably on their website too, but it's something that I just got, so I thought I'd share it with you all. Something that I don't think I've mentioned here in my report is that every other week before a select board meeting, I make sure I code all the invoices for inclusion in the payables. So that's just something that I do. Danny, the highway foreman, codes his highway related invoices, and I do all the rest. So something I just thought I would add to my report. I helped out a citizen with information about how to apply for ARPA funds from the select board, and they were doing that on behalf of the Historical Society, and I believe that the Historical Society has started that process of doing they're applying for some ARPA funding from the select board. So we'll see how that goes. It's very exciting. And spoiler alerts always in my report. I've been working a lot on conflict of interest. I did add, I think the last meeting, we decided that we would add some information to the town website about conflict of interest. So that page is up, and it has not only our policy, but it has a little bit more information and some guidance from the Vermont Commission on Ethics, and also I added, because I thought it was pertinent and I don't think it was on our website yet, VLCT's guidance about offices that you can't hold simultaneously. So that's there on our website, conflict of interest page. And I also worked on a land lease that we'll discuss later in the meeting too. So, and some sand bids. I sent out a sand RFP earlier this month, and all the bids came in today. So Danny will be reviewing those this week, and we'll get the results of that at the next select board meeting.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds like a lot. Sounds like you're working. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Is there any thing I see that Dan's not here tonight? Is there anything that he's asked you to speak to, whether for the Highway Commissioner's report?
He did mention, aside from the sand bids, that there's that Alan Belleville, who was doing, I think, 3 days a week, and he's now going to just be doing 2 in just keeping an eye on the budget. So, and he's cut him back to 2 days.
Great.
Erica, do you know if sand is delivered or do we pick it up?
I believe it's delivered,
think
but
that's
Danny would be
what I
able to speak to that. The bids do come in, there's one price for delivered and
Okay.
one price for pickup, so,
Okay,
yeah. Each
So-
one
so-
had that information.
and so we'll see both of those.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
Those bids, yeah.
All right, thank you very much for both those, Erica. All right, now this evening we have, on a regular basis, we're listening to reports from various commissions, organizations, related parties to Guilford. And so tonight we're going to hear from folks at the library. So ask John to come forward here. John Shaw.
Hey, hello. Hey. Hey. I have printed out my thing. I'm gonna try to keep my watch. I have this tendency to ramble, so bear with me.
We'll cut you off.
So yeah, I'm from the library trustees, and I thought I'd start by telling you about what the library trustees do. We are elected to oversee affairs at the library. The library is a department of the town. We create bylaws and policies that govern library operations. We hire and oversee the library director. We control and manage funds and gifts and property for the use and benefit of the library. We also work closely with the Friends of the Guilford Free Library, which is a separate nonprofit group that works on fundraising and support of programming and projects of the library. And so I have some updates about what has happened at the library so far this year, and we already heard some exciting upcoming things from Kathy, and also some just things that the trustees have been talking about and planning, or that we are going to be tackling in the coming months and so on. So for library services, we this year continued to offer pick up outside of library hours for people they could request books. You can either call the library, talk to a librarian, or you can, through the website, request a book to be checked out, and it'll be placed outside on the porch, and you can pick it up after hours. And that's been very popular. That started during the pandemic lockdown, but it gets used a lot. So in case anybody didn't know that was happening, it's still happening. We have this year new services for downloadable ebooks and audiobooks through the Palace Project and the Green Mountain Library Consortium, which uses Libby, I think, or Libby uses that. I forget how that works, but these last year we were having a lot of trouble with downloadable books, and so we are psyched to have some programs that actually work pretty well this year.
Excuse me, was that a technology issue?
Yeah, so
a bandwidth issue?
basically, we need to, it's very expensive to offer downloadable books. Each book actually counts. You can't read the same book as somebody else at the same time. It counts as though we had the volume on our shelf.
Wow.
And which is confusing, but these are subscription services that you need to sign up for, and the subscriptions are expensive. And so, but the Green Mountain Consortium, I think especially, has been able to pool a lot of libraries together to create purchasing power through numbers. And so the services, and so we subscribe to these services, but then the services changed their policies and whatever, and we are just stuck with what they do. And last year, it was hard for that reason.
I see. Thank you.
So this seems to be working better. The Energy Committee this year got 2 e-bikes through a grant, and they acquired those in June, and they're available through the library to be checked out using your library card, which is kind of
That's
exciting.
great.
So I want to make sure everybody knows about that.
And how is that going? Is it okay to ask a question?
Sure.
How's
As long as
that
you know,
going?
As long as you know the answer.
As long as I know the answer. I think it's going great. We've heard some lots of positive feedback about
Right.
people who, I have never used an e-bike and that they just have been having these really nice rides around town, and it's all going smoothly. Nobody's had an accident or anything yet.
Terrific.
So yeah, it's been going great. And finally, just want to remind people that we continue to offer the 24-hour access to Wi-Fi that doesn't have a password and is high speed. And you can get that from the parking lot, so you don't even have to get out of your car if you don't want to. But just so folks know about that, I know that got a lot of use in March after we had that storm, and a lot of people in town were without power and without internet access in that week following that big storm, and it got a lot of use then. But it's always on, so please use it. So some of the programs you heard about from Kathy. We were at the Guilford Fair recently, and we had some nice astronomy activities that Kathy talked about, and we also had a community story, which was a scroll laid out where everybody was invited to add a line to the story, and that has gotten to be this long. And the scroll is now at the library, so if anyone wants to stop by and read it, or you can still add to it. I think if we run out of space on the scroll, we'll end it, but I'm not sure that there's a planned ending yet. But so that was fun. We also had for several years we've had a station for kids to make personalized bookmarks. We had the e-bikes on display, and we sold water and books as a fundraiser. This summer we had our summer camps, which are our summer reading program. We organize it into camps, and this year we had 3 weeks. They were the adventure camp, the sound and stream, and the stage and stream. They were for grades K through 8, and we had 40 campers throughout.
Wow.
So it was very well attended. The camps are very popular. They're free, and they're paid for not by the town, but by the trustees and friends fundraising and acquiring grants. So. So they went great, and we are planning to expand on the K to second grade, kindergarten to second grade age level, because that one really filled up fast, and we got a lot of requests for more on that. So hopefully we will have more on offer next year. We had early in the summer, or I guess in the spring, we had our raffle. That was a collaboration with the Friends group, and that culminated with the concert by the local band, the Rear Defrosters. which was in the beginning of June at the fairgrounds. And it was just it was a bring your own picnic and have this band playing and dancing and just being together. And we did the raffle drawing there. And it was a good time. Good time had by all, I believe. And so that's the second year that happened, so that might become a regular event. And at the beginning of the year, we did the Guilford Winter Pen Pals, which is a collaboration with Guilford Folk. And we had paired off 34 participants this year who corresponded throughout the winter months when people are stuck inside. And the people who participated, we got really, really positive feedback. It's amazing. So we plan on keeping it going. And next year we'll start again, beginning of January, and sign up will be in December through the library website. Okay. Quickly, we have some ongoing programs that occur monthly. We have Talk About Books, the Adult Book Club, which has been averaging about 10 to 12 people each month. And Leah, the assistant librarian, gets the books for everybody through interlibrary loan. And they had a special session in July, which was much larger group and met at the BBCC because they were doing a book by local Guilford author Chuck Collins. He had a new book come out this year, and Chuck attended the event and joined the discussion, so that was a highlight. We have a weekly program, Story Time for young children, that features stories and songs and finger games and rhyming and just fun family things for young kids. Right now that program is on hiatus, but we're hoping it will resume in the fall. But it was going earlier this year. We have a new monthly program called Art Club, which is another collaboration with Guilford Folk, and it is for anybody interested in any kind of art to come and share your art. And there's a monthly prompt that you can use to be inspired, and it's for beginning artists or professionals, and it's been going for 3 months now, and it's been really fun. So I've been taking part myself. So want people to know about that. Okay, we did a whole bunch of other programs, but I'm going to skip over those. We did, and Kathy told you about upcoming things. I'll skip those, other than to say that also end of October we are always involved with the Halloween in Guilford Center, so look out for that. And then the things that the trustees have been talking about and looking into the future. The first on top of our list is creating an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, with the Selectboard, which we just don't have in place right now, but as two elected bodies of the town, the Vermont State Department of Libraries recommends this as a best practice, to say that we create a written agreement on how we work together and roles for each. Select board's responsible for this, library trustees are responsible for this, and that kind of thing. And so I have been appointed by the trustees to spearhead that effort. So I've been researching how other towns do that and creating a draft document, and hopefully our hope is, so I'm bringing it up to you now, and then our hope is that in the next few weeks or whatever, that'll come to you with a draft, and we will discuss the draft and get it to a place that we're both happy with and whatever. So I wanted to let you know about that. We are also this fall and winter working on looking at the space inside the library. We're going to conduct an ADA survey, which is something that the trustees will do themselves, but that will help us identify where we're out of compliance. We know we're out of compliance, and we want to see what things we can do to possibly come into compliance, and also just to best use the space. So the library is very small, and we're trying to fit in there, and we'll see if we can find a efficient use of space. And then finally, longer term, looking into next year, Kathy has announced to us that she is going to retire in July of 2024. She's been the director for 25 years. She's the only library director I've known in my time here in town. And so this is obviously a kind of big shift for the library, but she's given us a lot of lead time, so we will be, over the course of the next year, we'll be preparing for that transition. But we want to say how grateful we are to her for her service. Thanks, Kathy. She's really done an amazing job, and the library, all of this stuff that I was talking about earlier is, I think maybe every single thing I talked about was from Kathy's hand. So she's really put her stamp on the town, and so anyway, can't say enough about her, but just wanted to let you know that this big things are coming, and we'll be in touch about it and make it go as smooth as possible.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for John? Any comments?
Well, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate how, I mean, the library really is sort of like the little engine that can, I really appreciate what a home place it is, just going to varied meetings of different groups. The library really serves as a kind of headquarters for a lot of people who might not otherwise be affiliated or know each other, and that's a big interest of mine. Is just having everybody know each other and work together as much as possible. And it really seems like, in its own quiet way behind the scenes, the library is always contributing to that, but it might not be obvious to people who aren't yet involved, and also the library doesn't go around bragging about it, but it would be good, maybe to have a map, a visual, of just
The web.
of connections that the library has.
One of the things I skipped over was that a number of groups use the library as a meeting place. And we had the Guilford Gazette and the Energy Committee, the Guilford Folk and the Guilford Homeschool Group are all regularly using the library as a meeting place, and there are other groups use it as well. And a lot of connections made through there. Yeah.
So thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, and we hope to come and do these kinds of updates more often too.
Our plan is to have you come twice a year, but there's option for more if you need something.
Great.
And there's always community comment time if there's something, coming up soon.
Great. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right, folks, we'll move on to actually, before we go, I want to just say that when I worked at the Vermont Arts Council, I worked at a project called the Vermont Creative Network, helping to establish that. And one of the people that I worked with was the director of Vermont Libraries. and I got to know her. She's been in that job. She's not there anymore, but she'd been in that job for many years, having come from Denver, which is a metropolitan area. The Denver Public Library served the entire metropolitan area. It was over 3 million people at that time. There were 14 libraries in the Denver area. And she came to Vermont, where there are 600,000 people, and there were 151 libraries. And she totally loved that. So, and I think that our library is on that same notion that it really is a gem in the community. And when Vermont got started, it really captured that spirit. And all across Vermont, there are these libraries that are doing wonderful things like Guilford's library is doing. So thank you all for your work. It's wonderful. These little energies, they're so amazing. Yeah. Let's move on to old business now. And the first order of business under old business is something we've been talking about for a little while. We're going to bring it up this evening again, conflict of interest. Our conflict of interest policy and a proposed amendment. And so, Tara, I think the best way would be, well, let's see, what do you think? Would you want to characterize the piece of things so that folks in the room can hear?
I will just go over.
Okay.
Because the select board wanted me to come with a potential amendment to the policy. So I have some proposed changes and additions, and we'll see if they get adopted. But in the conflict of interest policy, not everybody has this in front of them. But on Article 3 is the application, and I'm just going to read what that is. It says this policy applies to all public officers as that term is defined below. And that's how it was. I would like to amend and add, including any member of a public body or public officer as listed below in Article 4, sections E and G. And I'm just going to jump over to what sections E and G are. E is a public body. Public body means any board, council, commission, or committee of the municipality. G is a public officer. It says public officer, means a person elected or statutorily appointed to perform executive, administrative, legislative, or quasi-judicial functions for the municipality. This term does not include any municipal employee. So I would like E and G added to Article 3. Moving on, the other additions that I would like are in Article 13 that states annually in the interest of transparency at the first organizational meeting, public officers and all public bodies, any board, council, commission, or committee of the municipality shall complete a conflict of interest related party statement or questionnaire. It will be an attachment to this, and it will look like this and be with the conflict of interest. For the ensuing year, any new public officer or public body member appointed by the select board in the interim shall complete the statement and questionnaire upon their appointment. Additionally, in Article 14, it already states effective date, this policy shall become effective immediately upon its adoption by the town of Guilford Select Board. That's where it ended. I want to add, and recorded as a public record to be kept on file during the interim of an elected term and for 1 year thereafter. And then Article 15 is a complete addition that I would like to add. All select board members, public officers, and public body members must review the conflict of interest handout compiled by the Vermont Code of Ethics detailing what a conflict of interest is and how it may pertain to their role as a select board member, public officer, or person serving on a public body of the Guilford, Vermont municipality. And I do remember that we weren't all in agreement on this because it doesn't pertain directly to the select board, but because this is written by the Vermont State Ethics Commission and it is the Vermont Code of Ethics identifying conflicts of interest, I think that it's completely applicable, and you would not go research what conflict of interest is anywhere else. So I think that this document should definitely be included, and that anybody that has to sign the conflict of interest should also have to look at this and document that as well, that they've read over it, so they know what it is.
Thank you.
You're
Good,
welcome.
Good. So there are two ways we can go about this, and I'll just take a little poll here at the board. I think that we could just have a general discussion, go over these points one by one, and kind of feel our way through. The other way would be for there to come a motion, for instance, from you that would need a second for us to be able to have then a discussion. And either way is fine for me, and I think will work for us. So I don't know if there's a preference here. Does anyone have a preference? No stated preference. Okay, yeah. No?
No, I'm just trying to figure out how we can best sort of evaluate it, you know, and I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
I guess I'll just say that I think it'd be good if we could just have a discussion first, and then you could make your motion later if you're comfortable with that. And the reason for that is that it allows us to talk about a number of different aspects of this that are related, rather than just focusing on the very language that you've provided and dealing with that. So I think it helps us get a better context for everything, and that would be my view. So if people are comfortable, I would suggest we go that way. Are you okay with that?
So we're gonna have a discussion, and then I will make a motion to
Yeah.
adopt it.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay,
And
Yeah.
make these amendments
yeah.
as written, unless we want to change how they're
You
written.
might need to, and you might want to then change
After the
these
discussion.
as we
Okay.
go along. Yeah. So let's look at the first one under Article 3, which is the application of our conflict of interest policy. The way the policy stands now, it says that this policy applies to all public officers as that term is defined below. And so Tara's suggesting that we add a phrase that specifies exactly who those people are and coming from the definition section of the policy. I don't know if anybody has anything they'd like to offer at this point, or anything they might just speak about in general here related to this. I will say that I think that this policy does in fact name those people without naming them specifically here. And I think that, and I'm happy to discuss that and everything. So this would be, for my money, this would be redundant, but.
However, I feel that it needs to be accentuated, because it seems like we continue to have a conversation about who this applies to and who it doesn't.
All right.
But I hear what you're saying in following further down in the conflict of interest policy that it's there, but I don't think that we acknowledge that it's there over and over.
We don't acknowledge it because
we've had conversations about who different people. I don't think that people think that it should apply to these people, that it already states that's in the conflict. It already states it in the conflict of interest policy. Therefore, we have to abide by it. And we've had conversations saying, that we don't want to discourage people from being on committees and commissions, but it already states that they need to abide by it.
Yeah, so I think what I'm hearing you say, and I'm not trying to argue for or against, I'm just trying to be really clear here, that I think that abiding by the policy is not the same thing as signing the piece of paper that says we've signed it, so that says we've disclosed our financial interests in whatever business we're doing in town. So,
But by not having every single person sign,
yeah,
it's not a documented acknowledgement.
it's not documented acknowledgement, that's correct. Which our policy currently doesn't require that. So this would be changing that documented policy, okay, yeah. Everybody clear about that? Yeah.
Can I ask one question?
No, sorry, we're having a discussion here at the board, we'll get to you eventually, that's the way it works here, so. Yeah,
I'll just offer that I don't have a problem with adding public officer, or not, public body, excuse me, but I don't think we need to say public officer a second time.
Where are you
right
talking?
here,
Article 3,
up at the top.
to Zon's point that it's redundant, but I think there's a way it could be phrased so that it just says public officer once, but
Oh, I see. Yeah, I mean, I thought when I was reading through it earlier today, Tara, I was just a little confused. Well, just about wording, you know, I mean, like having, well, like partly following up, you know, so Article 3 application says this policy applies to all public officers, as that term is defined below, and then maybe just saying this policy includes any member of a public body as listed in Article 4. You know, I mean, I'm talking about like
Sections.
picky
G.
wording things, you know, if we're going to, I mean, I would agree with the intent of it, but if this is going to be our policy, it just needs a little wording help. And that's something that, you know, that's a small issue.
So I hear what you're saying, Brenda. I want to be, I'd like to draw a line to just help us understand if the line can be drawn. A difference between a member of a public body and a public officer. Erica, you can help me with this if I'm not stating it correctly. A public officer is a person like the select board who performs administrative, executive, and legislative or quasi-judicial functions for the municipality. And to my understanding, none of our commissions or committees have the capacity to do executive, administrative, or legislative functions for the town. All of those commissions, all of our commissions and committees, especially the ones that we appoint, work for the select board. So there's a difference between a public officer, which would be those of us that are elected to do those three functions, and a public body, which is more like our commissions and so forth. So just so we're clear about that.
So basically you're saying public body is a whole. So public body is an entire board or an entire council
Right.
or an entire commission. For
Right.
a public officer, it makes
Would be-
more sense
would be-
to, because any public officer is within the definition of public body.
I would just want to be really clear that we're not using the word public officer to mean like the chair of the planning commission. That's not a public officer. That's a member of a public body who happens to be the chair. We are officers. We are public officers because we serve in specific statutory roles. And that's what makes us officers as opposed to members of a public body. So there is a distinction between the two.
Okay, but couldn't someone on a public body have a conflict of interest?
Yes, I'm not trying to say they don't. I don't mean that at all.
Okay.
No, I just want to be really clear. I'm
With
not trying to
words.
say this doesn't apply. I'm just trying to say, I don't want anybody to presume that we're talking about that we're talking about the chair, for instance, again, of the planning commission being a public officer. Because even those chair people do not do all of the roles that we do, which are legislative, administrative. and
So
forth.
therefore, should the public body also be included in
I think-
signing
I
a
actually think-
conflict of
I think-
interest
I
policy?
think we need to look at it carefully and make sure, yeah.
So I'd like to clarify, you are asking people to sign a policy or a financial disclosure? Those
I'm
are
not,
two different
I'm
things.
asking, not a financial disclosure.
Okay, just the
No,
policy, just that
just
they've
the-
reviewed it and.
Yeah,
Okay.
just that Article A, where state your conflict of interest. That, which we sign. I'm asking, which the
What-
select board signs.
What select board signs is different. This is it's not the same thing, it's a financial disclosure.
It-
Are you a supplier of goods or professional services to the town of Guilford, Vermont? List your current employer and all entities which you are officer. It's that's what the
The
select board
conflict of
signs.
interest related party statement
Yes.
and questionnaire.
That's the only thing anybody signs currently, which I consider a financial disclosure. Right?
Yes, that's what this piece of paper is what
What that
it is, yeah.
Well, I think that a point that needs to be made here is that people do not want anyone that can gain anything or anyone that it might appear that could gain. It's an appearance. It doesn't necessarily even mean that they're going to gain something, but it's an appearance, becomes a conflict of interest. So anybody on a committee that could gain something financially, I think it's important that it is disclosed, so we don't keep having these same conversations again. And that's what's happening.
No, I hear you. I think we just have to be, I don't disagree with that in theory. I think the point is, we just need to be real clear that the language is gonna be tight and we're all good on this phrase. And then we can, if we're comfortable with the idea, we can move on.
But this is what I am recommending, is that people in a public body or that are a public officer need to disclose a potential conflict of interest if they're in any role and appointed to be doing work for the municipality. That is what I am proposing. That's,
I think again, it's tricky, but let's keep talking here because I think that the idea of, well, first of all, I think we can say that VLCT does not recommend this action, this step to be done by towns. It actually recommends against it. And that I'm just putting that out there. I'm not saying what I think or how I feel about it.
And why, I'm sorry to interrupt, but what was VLCT's reason for discouraging this or not recommending it?
So I had several conversations with a few different attorneys at VLCT, and they say that it will discourage volunteerism in the town, to put this burden on volunteers of signing a financial disclosure. And they point out that the policy applies to everyone. If they're on a commission, a committee, or on the select board, it applies to everyone serving the town in those capacities. But our policy says only the select board needs to sign a financial disclosure, and the VLCT does recommend against that just because of the burden of, there's not a lot of people in the town to serve. So if you put barriers up, that might not be a positive thing, is what they're saying. And I would like to point out that the policy, our existing policy already has directives. If someone feels they have a conflict or an appearance of a conflict, there are steps to take to disclose these facts during the meeting, in which you would be covering something that you might have a conflict about. So, it's my thought that even if you fill one of these out annually, something might come up at a meeting for anyone at any time that you say, oh, well, I've volunteered for that
We've had that.
organization, so I'm gonna recuse myself. And that's what the policy says, and I've seen people do that time and again in meetings, so that's following the steps of the policy.
And it's also true with what Eric is saying right now, and this is something I've stated before. In my experience, the kinds of conflicts that have come up where people have had to step away momentarily would never have been the kind of thing that was listed on a document like this. So that a document like this wouldn't necessarily catch the issues that come up as they do in normal business, you know. So the policy does have an inclination, a way in which we can address momentary conflicts of interest or momentary needs to abstain or recuse oneself from particular votes. And this document this disclosure document wouldn't have been able to help in most of those situations. So that's just, again, another point of fact. It's not, or a point of information. It's not necessarily attempting to oversway or anything like that. I think let's move on in the interest of, if we can, let's move on to we'll be taking all of these things as a whole, I think. If you're comfortable, Tara.
What are we moving on towards?
Well, then the next would be Article 13.
Okay. All right.
Which is essentially what we've just been talking about, that everyone would sign this disclosure.
Right. And then, is that where? No, that's Article 14. Okay, correct. That annually everyone would sign this disclosure.
Okay, does anybody have anything else they'd like to say at that point? All right.
Well, I actually, I serve as the liaison to 2 commissions, and I, rather than wondering how people would feel about it, I thought, I'm going to 2 meetings this week, and I could ask people what they think of this policy. I mean, how it seems to them, whether they feel as if it's like, oh, sure, hand it to me, I'll sign it because it's no big deal to me, or something, on the continuum to why can't we be received with appreciation and trust, and I really don't know from the Rec Commission, which is perpetually seeking new members from basically the same pool of people, because the same pool of people volunteer for a lot of stuff, and a lot of people don't volunteer for anything, because of conditions in their lives, because of economics, but, a lot of people are interwoven in things in this town. And so, I really personally can't put myself in their shoes to say how they would feel about it.
Yeah.
I'll just add that all along, I'm not the first person to say this, but I've been concerned about discouraging volunteers. I thought it was interesting that the LCT kind of supports that notion of not trying to discourage volunteers by creating these types of barriers.
I'm wondering if there would be, rather than how it would be for you, Tara, rather than signing a financial disclosure statement, which really is at some level a form of Well, it's financial disclosure. And that becomes a public document then. And that the financial information becomes a public document. Financial interests in our community becomes a public document. I'm wondering if there would be openness on your part to the idea of, if we want people to sign something so that we can administer this conflict of interest well, if signing the policy itself would be satisfactory. Or if
You
it
mean
could-
signing the policy that we now have?
Just, signing our current, or, changing it a little bit, but the people initially are saying, I've read this policy and I see how this works.
That's how we do it with the employee, with the personnel policy.
Yeah, so-
Every employee signs the personnel
Yeah.
policy and we keep that on file.
And it's not this financial disclosure, which is, again, personal information. Granted, it's not deep or anything.
No, it's asking if you plan on doing any financial transactions with the town.
And if you describing in a way in which you feel you might benefit from any activities that the town is doing now. And so, anyway, I just put that out there as an option for us to consider,
I also, I'm just really trying to reflect on this in a more open and full way for myself. There are people, whoever people are, who are concerned about the openness and trustworthiness of the people who work for the town. I don't know how many people there are who are truly concerned about this, who have maybe examples of people who would be part of these groups that we're approaching. The Planning Commission, the Rec Commission, the Cemetery Commission, the Energy Committee. Do we have any other?
Yes. The
Who else?
Financial Advisory Committee at this point, and there's one other commission I can't think off the top of my head.
What commission am I missing? I appreciate them all, but
Conservation.
right. They're so sorry. If there are people who feel concerned and mistrustful about some personal gain that somebody, let's say, on the Cemetery Commission might have. We're a small town. I would really like it if, I'm not the chair of the Cemetery Commission, thank goodness, after decades, to come to a chair and say, I'm concerned about this. In my experience with the two commissions I'm working with, people bend over backwards to give without stint. I noticed that Kyle Parker here is on Zoom. He's on the Cemetery Commission. He has volunteered so much of his time and expertise and really we have to say to him, you should get a little something for this overage, that you're doing. And so I guess, yes, I want people to feel trust, but I also want them, if they have a problem, I want them to come forward and talk to me about something that I'm involved with. And I also want to recommend that maybe they could join one of these commissions and see how it works. Tara, I really honor your public spiritedness, and personally, I have utter trust in your integrity and in your lifelong connection here. But I guess I'm coming from a different place of, long time service on these commissions. And I feel as if, just like for the library, people saying, wow, that's great that you're putting in your time doing that. I'd like to hear a little more of that and a little less suspicion. So I'm sorry, I'm only speaking out of great fondness.
Okay, let's keep moving here. So a few things are on the table here. Let's look at this Article 14, effective date, which it states now this policy shall become effective immediately upon its adoption by the town of the Guilford Select Board and recorded as a public record to be kept on file the interim of an elected term and for 1 year thereafter. I think I'm going to just say, Tara, that I think we might want to take that phrase and either add it somewhere else or it's just inappropriately here. This effective date is talking about the policy itself, not that someone signed it. So the policy itself is effective the date that it was approved by the select board. And I think what you're intending, if I'm right, is that anything that anybody signs needs to be kept in the offices for a certain amount of time.
Correct.
As a public record, yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know if you know this or not, but there's Vermont statute that says, and I won't be able to quote it right now, but I know because I bumped into it before. There's Vermont statute that says exactly how long certain public records need to be kept on file. So there's already a statute that would govern this without us restating anything different here. And I don't know the answer. We could get it, but it's not 6 months or something. I don't remember, at least 1 year. It might be 3 years. I don't know.
I was doing some reading on that today, and it seems like nobody can destroy anything unless there's a certain schedule.
Yeah, I think
So there's nothing in statute that says any
Well,
amount of time
the reason that
you can't get rid of it.
The reason that this is important is because
Yes.
you know why,
I know,
right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows why.
Yeah. And
So,
I think that what we're getting at here is that the statute, when the mistakes were made before, the statute was in existence and was there. That didn't keep it from happening before either. So I think that I don't know that writing anything in here is what's going to make a difference. Is that the commitment that we're making to maintaining these public records. That's what's going to make the difference. And I think
And
that's
state statute would supersede whatever we put in our
That's
policy.
right, yes. If it came to a court issue, if there was a suit or anything like that, the state would follow its own statute before it would follow ours.
okay, so if we had people sign the conflict of interest policy, not disclose the related party statement and questionnaire, but sign it, where is the procedure if somebody in town, I know I've seen it, if somebody in town has an issue, what is the actual procedure for them to come? Is it a grievance? Is it would it be a violation of conflict of policy? You
Yeah, I
know?
don't know what the,
And I'm not asking for any of this. What I'm trying to do is dot T's,
No,
cross I's.
totally.
I'm trying to make everything on paper, document everything, and that way people can't question things.
Right. The trick is, I think one of the tricks is, in my understanding of this, and Erica, anybody else can say it, but Erica's been doing a lot of research, I know. The appearance that's a tricky issue when you have the appearance of a conflict of interest, because I think any person in town could claim anybody has a conflict of interest because it appears that way to them. That's way oversimplifying it and putting it way on a certain edge, and I don't mean to do that at all. But I think that where the issue, when you're trying to do business, just like we're trying to do the select board's business, the conflict of interest issues need to be dealt with by us. And if we're comfortable moving ahead, whether or not there's a conflict of interest, or we state it and we figure out what we're doing, then we can move ahead and do our business. That's a very different thing from an outsider coming to a meeting and stating there's a conflict of interest. Then that's something that, again, as I understand it, that's heard, but it's dealt with at the select board or whichever party, whichever board is being addressed when it comes to those kinds of conflicts. You're right, there's no, in our policy, and I haven't been able to find anything in statutory policy that speaks about community members being able to level that there's a conflict of interest and have it stop any work or anything like that. That's up to the board that's working. They have to, that's part of their job, is to make that decision.
But my point, and I know that not everyone agrees with this,
Yeah.
is if someone were to fill this out, there wouldn't be any questions. They would know that they disclosed what could potentially be a conflict of interest. And because it is a small town, there are conflicts of interest.
Well,
That
let's-
is,
Yeah, let's just take, for example, at the last select board meeting, a community member claimed that I had a conflict of interest. There's no way that I would have filled out this piece of paper in any way that would have answered to that particular claim of the appearance of a conflict of interest. There's no way. Because it has nothing to do with my relationship to this organization or to the town of Guilford. And so this document wouldn't have helped anything in that instance. And yet that community member is claiming that there's a conflict of interest that I have. So I'd like to know if what you propose, how that would be dealt with there in that instance.
well, that person should be able to file some type of grievance, and then there should be an investigation.
And that's what's going on right now. That's exactly what's going on right now. And
But I don't mean to cut you off, Son.
No.
I think like there's full disclosure protects the town and the people in the town. That's how I feel. And I'm all about supporting volunteers. And you all know that. You all know that.
Sure.
I feel that things weren't black and white prior to me being on the board, and there are some things that happened that I would like to be avoided. And
Likewise.
I feel like maybe something like this, but
What
simpler.
What type of things
What type of things? What?
have happened that are of concern to you?
Well, documents not being filed properly. That's a big one.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm about full disclosure, and I know that you're all saying that it might discourage volunteers, but at the same time, if there's nobody would have anything to hide. Like, you either write down, yes, I have a conflict of interest, or no, I don't. It's as simple as that. If someone needs to recuse themselves from a vote, you count on your able-bodied council board members to make the vote without you. I think this mistrust of us it's toxic, and I just want to do something to make it stop and to appease people, because there's people on both sides, and I feel like I'm in the middle.
Sure, I hear you. I feel like we're in the same place. Okay, let's, I think we can get this to an end. I want to just, it's good to have all this come out, and I think it's great. I think it will be important, or I need to ask you, if we were to essentially do away with the part of the amendment that you've written in 14 about the timing of documents being held, that's taken care of by statute.
Right.
And it will be, anything we write would be superseded by statute. So I would think it would make sense for us to use the statute's guidelines.
And I had mentioned before, and we talked about it briefly tonight, that I don't know if it needs to be within this policy, but there needs to be a process. There needs to be a process of, just to have it there, just to have it there.
A community member.
Yes, and it needs to be there. If anyone thinks there's a conflict of interest, then they come in and they fill out a piece of paper, and then there's an investigation.
Yeah.
It's just part of the entire process.
Yeah. I think I can hear that very well. I mean, I can hear everything you're saying with no problem. But I think that's actually a strong idea for us to consider, and it wouldn't be part of this policy because this is a policy that affects how we and the town,
Right.
the members of the bodies that run the town, not we. Like there's a we and a them, but it affects those agencies that are doing town business, community members. Interest in conflict of interest should be looked at and should be considered. And I think we've done a lot of that over the last while. It hasn't been resolved fully well enough for some people's desires, and I understand that. But that's part of what the two suits are against the town are about. So, yeah. So let's see. Then Article 15. I'll just say, and I think Erica would back up this up, that, well, if we were going to...
Article 15, I
The
don't
new
see
Article
Article
15,
15.
just go down, go back up to, there, it's keep
Oh,
going
that's
down.
Article 13?
Yeah, I know, as you go down, here, it's right here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tara.
No, that's fine.
All select board members, let's see, I'll just say this, that I don't think there's any court that would uphold us pointing to another document somewhere else and saying that has to be part of our policy. If we want those elements to be part of our policy, we need to bring them into our policy and make it our policy. Because that document that's pointed out there, just like a web page, is liable to change at a moment's notice, and suddenly it's no longer, doesn't make sense. Well, I agree with you, that's a very sensible document to have. It's a very sensible reference point to look at. It's not intended for municipalities yet. It may well be coming down the line in the next few years, and we may well need to adjust our policies altogether. But I would say that the best we could do would be maybe not even as part of a policy. We could maybe have a sentence, I don't know, but we encourage people to be familiar with that document as a guideline. And that could be done informally, or it could be done as another attachment. But I'm not inclined to make it part of our policy just because it's not responsible activity for a select board to go picking and choosing from other places and say, look over there, that's what we agree with, and putting it together. That's not, we need to do that work. And so,
Okay,
So you-
yeah.
Go ahead.
So I know you said where that document comes from, this flow chart, which is lovely. It comes from the Vermont State Ethics Commission, which is tasked with overseeing the ethics on a state level of all state officers. So another question that I asked of VLCT attorneys is how can we make this closely match our policy? What edits does this document need? And I got some really great suggestions. So I can put my graphic design hat on and create a spreadsheet, a flow chart that looks very similar to this, that doesn't have Vermont Ethics Commission on it, that is our own, that matches our policy, because our policy, it's not very different, but there are a few different, here, the second page. The first page, the VLCT attorney said, yeah, that's probably okay for the most part, but the second page of this should be just changed a little bit to match more with our policy, and that's absolutely doable. So I think I'm gonna just make the recommendation that whatever, I think that the request here should be to make an addendum to the policy of this not existing yet flow chart.
Okay, and
That
then,
aligns with our policy and not someone else's that lives somewhere else.
right, and the reason that page 2 doesn't really apply is because we don't have a protocol. So we need to adopt a protocol
No, we do.
for,
Absolutely do. Yeah, absolutely. If I have a conflict of interest or appearance of one, what should I do? That is.
okay, I'm sorry, I meant we don't have a protocol for
If
a
somebody
community
else-
member feels that we have a conflict of interest.
Yes, and this is the tricky part. I'm not sure that the state does either. In my look, I'm not sure that they, I'm sure, I just don't know.
Do we have a grievance form?
Form, not that I know of, no.
So if someone were to file a grievance, I think that we could combine a grievance form to apply to conflict of interest.
So-
With citizens to.
Yes, if they have concerns and they don't feel that their concerns are being met, and they want to file a grievance, they can list what the grievance is about, and then there's an investigation.
Well, that's something that.
Entirely
you're
different.
Yes, well, I mean, it's, that would be a new policy. Not a different policy from this, that would be a very new addition to the policy of.
We don't have
Procedures for-
we don't have a policy for a community member to address
Grievance.
That's right.
a grievance or a conflict of interest.
And my question about that, I mean, I'm really trying to understand, who would listen to the grievance and who would sort out its merit? You know, if we're the governing body, are we the ones who would have to reflect on and discuss and somehow decide on the merit of that grievance?
I don't know the answer to that, but my guess is from everything I've read and seen is that yes, that's our job as the governing body, which that in particular instances that have come forth in our town so far, that's a problem. And so I don't know if that means is there a desire in our community for us to create another sort of body, which we can't do.
No.
It's not workable under statute, you know, that would do that kind of thing. So the mechanism is so far, the mechanism that I understand is that any citizen is free to call something out to the select board. The select board responds in its governmental, in its judicial role, and then there's the possibility of grieving that or appealing that, the select board's decision at the Superior Court and then finally at the Supreme Court, which has happened in the case of Guilford last year. So there is a protocol, there's a way this can happen. There's not a way that I'm aware of that statute allows for a separate special way for a select board to deal with a claim of conflict of interest that a community member has. Again, it's my statement that it's our job as watchers of one another to make sure that we can do the select board's business.
Well, so if one of us had a conflict of interest, like in this page 2, it does say that we would have, if somebody accused us of having a conflict of interest, we would have an opportunity to, in writing, state, no, I do not. So I think, I mean, this is a big conversation, the whole grievance thing. But I think that grievances could potentially be worked out with a meeting, and similar to that, just hashing it out, basically.
Sort of like a mediation or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. We have looked into mediation under these very same circumstances and discovered that because we are a statutorily guided body, there's no way that we have to stay in the realm of statute, and there's no provision for mediation working in those issues. There are set up ways in which these grievances have to take place. Mediation is not one of those. Now, we're free to do mediation just because we want to, but it's expensive. In the state of Vermont, mediation costs as much as having a lawyer. So,
Can't we have a step that doesn't get legal first? Like if somebody has a problem, we have a chat.
Mediation is a legal remedy.
Yeah, mediation is a legal remedy, and if
And so if we, so, I'm sorry, so VLCT, we'd have to pay them to help, or are there resources there?
They do not do mediation. They
Okay.
absolutely do not do mediation. We looked
Okay.
into that. What they do is they recommend a legal service that does the mediation for you.
They will also listen to a quandary, like I've called them up about, a few things that have happened, and they give some precedents that they have heard about that maybe will help. But they stated over and over that they don't want to and can't get involved in individual cases because that's not a service they offer. It's really about precedents that that they have a whole body of when this happened, these people did that.
Yeah, I think that what we're getting at, what I've discovered with VLCT is that their main role, just like our legal team, their main role across the state of Vermont is to support towns in the work they're doing. They can't get engaged in the business of the towns. They give advice about how to run efficiently or to manage HR issues or things like that. But they don't actually come in and manage any community's issues. So I'd just like to take a check here in the room. Yeah. And I think what I would say, Tara, is quickly, it strikes me that there are two issues that are resting here. One is the notion of altering our current conflict of interest policy and then answering to the question of how does a community member get access to the conflict of interest protocols. And is there a way for that to happen? And so I would like to set the one about the community aside because we can't really address that tonight. And would not be part of this policy.
Right,
Does that seem reasonable?
Yes.
Okay. So if we go to the policy itself, then it strikes me that we're not quite ready to adopt, I think we're not quite ready to adopt the policy as you've amended it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think some language needs to be changed.
All right, so I think that there are a few ways we can go at it. I appreciate the work you've done. It's good work. I think this has been a very strong conversation. I think for all of us, I know Erica has learned a hell of a lot in this process.
Thank you, Erica, for all your research.
And I think that, so we can really depend on her expertise, growing expertise to answer a lot of these questions for us. But I think that if we're going to get to an amendment, we still need another meeting to do that. So how would you propose that we go forward? Would you, do you want, I don't feel like if you made it, this is my own feeling. I shouldn't say anything. I'm not sure that if you moved this tonight that it would pass this
Right.
week. I'm not sure you're in the mood to move it at this point.
No, and I'm not sure if I move it next week, it's gonna pass.
Well, yeah, I think that we can, my theory is that I think we're moving, I feel movement, and I think that, and that's a risk we take that.
Let's just revisit it.
All right.
Let's revisit it next meeting. I will do more research on my end because I really want to just investigate it a little bit more.
Okay. All right. Is everyone comfortable with that?
I'm happy to work with you about like this, and please do ask me questions and send your revisions
Okay,
as soon as you have them, and
I'll
compare
get
them
on
to-
it
yeah.
sooner
Cool.
this week.
And I will be meeting with two different commissions, both the rec and the cemetery commission. And also I walk in the morning with some people from the Conservation Commission, And I can just, you know, run it by, well, the rec and the cemetery commission as a whole, and also ask the Conservation Commission to talk among their members about how they feel about it. Because, you know, on one hand, I really appreciate your dedication to theory.
No question.
You know, I really do, and in some way it's overdue. You know, on the other hand, I really want to hear from the people who are doing the work of the town about what their response to this is.
One idea that I have is just simplifying this. So it's not a financial document. It's, do you feel you have a conflict of interest? What is it? And not having to go into the financial transactions, I guess. Because even if we simplify this, it gives a person an opportunity to disclose what they feel a potential conflict of interest is. And I think that could appease people in general.
Okay.
Great.
So there are a few things for us to look at. Why don't we, can we just agree that we'll authorize Erica to work with you, Tara, and to we'll just keep it, table this essentially, or keep moving on this discussion?
And I'll also report back on what I find, you know, and if anybody else is close to any commissioners, you know, like, what is this actually like? Is this like no problem? Sure. Or does this make people uncomfortable? And if so, why?
All right, and I'm aware that there are people in the community that have their hands up or would like to say something, but we're going to move ahead. If you have something you'd like to say about these issues, I really totally encourage you to be in touch with me or with Erica or with any member of the select board or with all members of the select board, and we will take the issue up. We will not leave anything, we don't dismiss any concerns on the part of the community. All right, let's move ahead then to another issue that we promised we would bring forward today, which is the select board relationship with the town attorney. And I think that let's have another discussion and see if there's going to be an action that will come from that. I'm not sure that there will be, but let's see. All right. So if I understand, Tara, maybe you'd like to why don't you just state what you'd like to see here?
I would like to be included in correspondences with the town attorney. And I think that more than one select board member should be hearing what the town attorney says, because we have different perspectives, we have different knowledge. I think that we need to come at this from different directions to get to a point where we can potentially mediate this situation and end it.
Yeah.
And so I feel that it's really important that not one select board member is having these interactions.
Clarify, sorry.
Yeah, no, please go ahead.
So are you suggesting an additional select board member be included in discussions with the attorney about everything, or just about one certain thing?
Well, I think everything. I think if there's emails going on, I should be included. And I don't think that I think if other select board members also feel like they want to be included, they have a right to do so. Because I don't think that one individual select person has more authority to take action on behalf of the town than any other resident. I just had this right here.
That came out very
And I think it's really important,
Yeah.
to be completely candid, people are named in these suits, and
Yeah.
their names are there. Now my name's there, so I feel that I've already stated that I think that there needs to be not just one person to be able to process the information and make decisions, because decisions are being made on behalf of the select board.
So how do you plan on go about doing this?
Like
If-
being including,
I know that
included
say he
in
has to make
emails.
a call, what are you gonna say? We all have to be here when he makes the call?
Do you want, you asked the question, do you want calls? Do you want emails? Do you, and I think, I'm gonna step back just quickly
Yeah.
and say, I think for the good of the select board, I know you're interested in doing this, but I think for the good of the select board, if we move in this direction, we need to state the chair and however many other members, and then we can figure out who that is. I don't wanna name you right now because that's
Right.
not in the interest of.
And trust me, I don't wanna add this to my agenda in
I'm sure
life.
you don't.
I don't.
But you very quickly will realize you don't want to
No,
do
it's
this.
true, but I feel that I just want to be included.
Yeah.
And I want to know, exactly what's being said, not that I don't trust what is coming to me. But I think that people,
You can speak
Would
to
be-
trust then. Sorry,
Yeah.
interrupt me.
no,
Yeah.
exactly, because then I've heard it firsthand.
Yeah, no,
So
so,
Rusty's question would be interesting to
Yeah.
answer.
yeah, what do you?
How
what would you
could,
propose?
how could this be, let's say,
When you have a conversation with the attorney, when the two of you are in a conversation, do you come here? Is it a three-way call? How does it
Not
work?
always.
Usually
Not normally
it's email.
Then-
We have done a conference call before.
Well, I think that all of those are extremely possible, and if Zoom needs to happen, but any emails, then I'm getting the information and I can ask questions.
That's fine. I mean, theoretically, the email part, it seems very simple to me.
Yeah.
I think it's worth the community knowing that the phone situation or any kind of meetings that we have with our lawyer are much less frequent than I think you might think, some of you. I mean, I have actually spoken with our lawyers in the last month, maybe twice, maybe 3 times, and not about any of the issues that I think are the hot topic issues.
Right, and I think that's important for you to say,
Yeah.
to state.
The issues that I've talked with the lawyers are these remarkably mundane issues about processing a lease or something like that, just to make sure that. So I'm not in any kind of. I have not been in any kind of relationship with our lawyers, and I'm sure they could verify this if we needed them to. But I've not been in any kind of discussion or anything where I have on the spot made a decision other than I need to take this up with the select board, or what are the limits of the select board's activities here. I don't make any decisions about any directions. I don't advise the lawyers ever about what to do, except to ask them, can you do this for us? Like, can you prepare this document? Can you advise us about this? That's
Right.
the nature.
You and I have had conversations about, it's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
It's what's the next step? Can you file this? Can you file this motion? And that's, no?
Not even that. Not even that. With
No.
regard to suits, we don't have any conversation with them at all. We have not had any yet. Now, I will say that with the first suit, because we were learning, we had to learn how this processes worked. That I was learning from the lawyers on behalf of the trustees how things were going. But with the second suit, I have not. Other than Erica passed the suit, the second suit, passed it to the lawyers, and they have advised us what they're doing, but that's it. Is that, I mean?
Yes, absolutely. There have been no suggestions to them coming from.
I think I
this direction
got that
to-
backwards,
yeah.
honestly, from our conversations, is that they are just telling you what they're doing next with,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yes.
So it's not gonna cost any more to include me, correct?
I could see the potential for more cost having more people involved in the discussion.
Yeah, sure, because if you ask a
Unless you
More-
forward me the
more
email
questions
and I
more
trust
time.
that you're forwarding me all the emails.
Well, I think let's be really clear here. I think email, any one of us being added beyond the chair any one of us being added to the emails is probably a very simple thing. It would not cost any more money. It's a matter of just having the person on the call up, and they're in the emails. When it comes to organizing phone calls, they do charge us for even organizing phone calls. So if we can't be immediately responsive, if we can't give them very clear notions about when we can meet, then that starts costing money.
But I would know what the phone calls are about, whether I need to be involved or not.
Well, I would say, I think we have to be really clear that I don't think, if we're going to choose that another select board be engaged in this process, that other select board has to be involved in every aspect. It can't say, oh, I'm not going to worry about that. It can't be a shopping list. It has to be either all or nothing. I believe that's the only fair way to do it, because how would we all be able to be comfortable trusting the other select board member that suddenly was something they didn't need to care about, but the chair needs to? That doesn't make any sense to me. That's my initial read right now. I don't know how others feel about that, but I think that, so whichever of us wants to do this, and I'm actually not opposed to this at all. I think this is, if this board wants to do this, I think it's fine. But I do think it's really, we have to be all in or not. So if we want to include the phone calls, and there are not very many, but if we want to include the phone calls, they have to be part of the deal. I would say that.
I would be in favor of just having the chair continue to be.
I think we could get emails, but the calls, I think, should just stay with you.
Just for the sake of streamlining, if you have any questions, I mean, I've always felt like I can ask Zahn what's going on and get the information.
I realize, I'm very well aware, and I very, very heavily, that there are people in the community who don't trust, I don't think that they don't trust me, I think they don't trust the chair. Because the same activity was going on with the previous chair.
Well, this would take heat off of you because I would also be included.
Right.
I'd be right there with you.
Again, I say I'm not against this at all, okay?
I have a suggestion, which is that I think that a conversation perhaps with Tara and Erica and you about the logistics of how to do this most simply, how to increase communication between those select board members who want it and the lawyer in a time-sensitive way. How can that happen? I mean, I really could see myself getting into the weeds of how a telephone call could happen or how an email could happen. And what I'm hearing is that other select board members seem not to have a problem with having another select board member be party, involved with communication, but it isn't of, high concern to themselves to be that person. So how to help that happen, I don't know is really whether that's an issue that we have to decide right now.
I'm not sure either, but, well, let's have a motion then. Let's see if we can do it that way. How about that? Want to try that?
You mean that I move that?
You don't have to move anything. Tara could move it. Michael could move it. Rusty could move it.
I would like to make a motion that I'm included on all email correspondences with the town attorney
Okay.
from here on forward while I'm.
While you're in the seat.
Mhm.
So I think what we wanted, just to be clear, I'd like to amend your motion. Let's have a second first, if there can be a second. Are we going to second Tara's motion?
I'll second it to put it in play.
Okay. So then I would like to amend it just to say that we'll make it two motions we'll have to do, but I'd like to make the motion for our minutes and for the progress of the community, that the town going forward, that we will, that going forward, the chair and one other select board member will be will be party to email conversations with the lawyer, okay? And then we can appoint you, if that's what we decide. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, that. All right.
So
Okay.
how do we do that now that we have, do we vote on the amendment?
Yes, we need to vote. First, we vote on the amendment, which is ultimately, if you're willing to accept that amendment, you can do that by a simple yes, I think you did.
Yes.
Then we would vote on that, and then and if that changes it, then we would vote on the original motion, not the wording of the original motion, but the amended motion would become the vote we're taking second. Make sense?
So just to be clear, we're only talking about including a second member on
That's-
emails,
Yes.
because I do see phone calls as time consuming and expensive to coordinate.
And I don't understand, if we're gonna do emails, why don't we just CC all of us? Is that a problem?
We did get advice from the lawyers when we asked them about this question that we could run into open meeting law issues about certain
Okay.
issues. And so they recommended not.
Just one person,
They
in addition to the chair.
They didn't have a recommendation of whether they thought one person was or not. So let's if we can, I'm going to vote on the amendment first, and then I see a hand up in the room, and so we'll do that before we take the final vote, all right? So can we, let's see, I will move that we amend the motion to, so that it reads that in addition to the chair, one other select board member will be party to email correspondence with the lawyers. Can I have a second to that?
I will second it.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion about that? All right, let's vote on that, and then we'll go back to the other and create that as the big motion. All right, so all in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay. So the board fully approves that, okay? Now, let's take a vote on whether or not that was an amendment. Now we're going to do the exact same thing again, but now it's a vote. Before we do that, I'm going to call on those with hands up so that I see Jason's hand. Jason, you have 3 minutes to offer an opinion, please. Thank you. Jason?
It may be a leftover hand from the
Might be,
list.
okay. All right.
Sounds like, does he have a little microphone?
Is he muted?
He's not muted.
Your screen is off, but yeah.
Is there a general mute on the?
No, it
No.
would show. We can
Oh,
see that
okay.
he's not muted, yeah. All right, I think we'll go ahead then. And thank you, Jason. You feel free to write us, connect with me if you want, connect with any member of the select board.
Oh, we're not hearing him.
Sorry, can't hear you. See you.
What do you think, Peter?
We have a speaker that's selected, and when I played it earlier, you heard that speaker.
That's right,
didn't
so
testify.
it's not on our end.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We
Did you
could
try to
pull
leave-
on
did you
some.
try to leave?
Oh, Anna says she
Anna
can hear Jason.
Jason.
So it is on our
Oh,
end.
he's got video now,
Is it the speaker on here?
the light on there.
The light's on. 1 second, Jason. Is the speaker on or loud? Is it up loud?
Is that max volume right here?
Try speaking, Jason.
Oh, this is so weird.
Oh, he's going here.
Why don't you have somebody else speak and see if it's his thing or here?
Anna, can you speak, please? Yeah, I see when the yellow frame comes up, it means they're talking. So, no, something's wrong. Dang.
She just tried to speak. She
Yeah.
said, yeah.
Yeah. So sorry.
I just tried to test the microphone. It said that I saw sound bars, but I didn't see anything, or we didn't hear anything. Yeah,
You mean the speaker?
yeah, I tested
Yeah.
the speaker. I saw the sound bars, but I didn't hear anything.
So they were
What's
having
that?
a
So-
speaker malfunction.
Oh, so,
I have another one, let me try that one.
1 second, we're trying to fix it here.
Microphone's muted there.
It is muted.
No,
And there's a
it's not
slash
muted.
there.
It's not, it wasn't muted.
We tested it.
Let's see if that one works at all.
Okay, Jason, you want to try again, please? Let's see if we got anything.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
thank you.
perfect.
Patience wins. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
All right, 3 minutes, Jason, thank you.
So it's interesting. I really wanted to talk about the conflict of interest policy. I won't, though. I think it's very discouraging to know that there's people probably in the audience right there, and that I generally want to talk about the conflict of interest. But since we're talking about this, I don't understand why you wouldn't just include Tara in all of these conversations. And if you want another select board member, are you going to choose specifically that member? Is Tara going to be excluded from that? Why not Tara? Who would be the other member? It's simple to include her in all conversations. Chairman Estes says that he talks to the lawyer less than twice this month. So it's certainly not a burden on the entire select board to be a part of these conversations. Why wouldn't the entire select board want to be a part of these conversations? But the fact that Tara wants to be a part of them, and there are certain members of the select board that would hesitate to have her a part of these conversations, whether it's our town administrator or our select board chairman or our select board vice chairman, do not want her to be a part of this. But someone does not want Tara to be a part of these conversations. And it's so very simple. Every time you contact the lawyer, say, hey, Tara, I've got a conversation with the lawyer today. Would you like to be a part of that? Hey, Tara, I got an email from the law firm today. Here's the conversation that we had. Do you have any questions? This is so simple. And the entire public should have awareness of this. This isn't something that it should be just excluded to the chairman and the appointee. So our town administrator is appointed. She makes $70,000 a year, which is like $20,000 a year more than Peter Rood made after 6 or 7 years of his service. And now the only people that are involved in this conversation with our town's law firm are the one person who's directly involved in all of this, and he does not want Tara Cheney involved in these conversations. And all Tara wants to know is the truth. And all I want to expose to this whole town is the truth. And here we are looking at the entire select board, and they won't either look at the board or they're worried about volunteers not volunteering because these aren't financial disclosure statements. These are conflict of interest disclosure statements. There's no one's tax returns on there. They're just, hey, it's just so we know that Veranda's Porsche's brother-in-law and sister-in-law are part of the Broadbrook Community Center. And so that's on Estes, the chairman. So he's on the board of DV Fiber. It's Sheila Morse in her conflict with the Friends of Algiers. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely outrageous. Tara, thank you for doing what you're doing. And you're right. You're right, Tara. Everything you're doing, you're right. These people are trying to bully you, and please, God bless you, just don't let them bully you.
Okay, thank you.
A complete mischaracterization of so many things. I'm sorry that the public has to hear that.
Point one. What? One. Just point one mischaracterization. One. You make a bold statement there, Zon. I'll make a lot of bold statements. But you made one bold statement, just one mischaracterization. Just point one. Just one.
Not going to, I'm sorry. You're finished. Thank you, Jared.
You're a hypocrite. You're a tyrant.
Yes, I am. That's true. Okay, let's go ahead. So we have a vote on the floor, and I think that we will now vote whether or not we want to include a single person in addition to the chair for the emails. And so all in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, now.
And thank you, Tara, for
We
your
haven't appointed
service.
her yet.
Oh,
Okay.
for
Now that I
volunteering
move
to
that
do
we,
that.
I move that we appoint Tara to that position on behalf, authorize Tara to serve the rest of the board on that, in that position. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Is there any discussion here?
I appreciate her engagement.
All right.
Thank you.
Steve's got it.
Oh, Steve.
In the event that Tara is not available, would you then appoint somebody else? I think if it's Tara or nothing, I don't think that's the spirit of the motion. So I would say, Tara, if you're available, that's fine, but you shouldn't feel that you have to go back from Brazil to do this. So I think then somebody else could be appointed for that email or that, whatever, email.
Thank you.
Okay.
But it is just emails, so
It is.
even if
I
I'm
think
in
it is.
Brazil.
Well, anyway, sorry.
No, it's okay.
If
No,
it's
I
not you,
understand what
somebody
you mean
else
though.
is appointed in your stead. If you don't answer that you're going to do it, then
Right, if
then
something
the chair
were to
would
happen.
appoint somebody else so that
Yeah.
there's never a gap in the dual coverage.
Yeah, never, all right. How do people feel about that? Are we willing to appoint another person?
I do.
Rusty, thank you.
Oh,
All right, so
great.
let's nominate Rusty. We'll add that onto the motion here.
Okay,
So-
have you just done a formal?
No, we're gonna do an amendment. So we're gonna add, right, okay, all those in, let's see, Rusty said yes. Are you moving yourself? I'll second. All those in favor of adding Rusty as the amended appointee, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Now, we will vote.
This is outrageous. Why not Tara? Why not Tara? You appointed Rusty? Rusty hasn't said a word in months, and now outrageous. This is outrageous. This is outrageous.
Jared, I don't think you're even listening to the conversation. Here comes the next part. Now, so now the next motion is that we're going to be authorizing Tara as first appointee and Rusty as alternate appointee to the position of the relationship with the lawyers via email. And we have that already done, first and seconded, so all in favor, say aye.
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 Point of order. Point of order. What about other than emails? You're just emails? That motion was just about emails. Is there anything about phone conversations or first-person conversations? Or is this just email conversations?
Commissioner, we should move on to
Yeah, I
item
think
C.
we did.
That's a point of order. It's a point of order. I asked a direct question. Is this just about emails or is this about all conversations with the law firm?
All right, I will answer that, and then we're not talking any further. Yes, it's just about emails. That's what we agreed.
There you go. There you go. Unbelievable.
We agreed here. All of us agreed to that. All right. So
You made the motion. Zon, you made the motion. Tara didn't make that motion. You made it. This is so outrageous. Here we go. Here we go. This is what's going on in our town, Guilford.
Thank you. All right, so let's continue on with old business. Potash Road discontinuation request. We had a public hearing. When was that? On Wednesday, last Wednesday, and we agreed that we would, it's not required that we bring a vote to that, or make a determination about that discontinuation request. It's not required that we bring it in front of the public. The select board could make its own decision in private and announce it to the public, but we all agreed that we wanted to have the potential of voting for that in public before the community here. Is everyone, that's what we agreed to, right? Okay,
Yes.
just saying. So we're aiming for openness and transparency as much as we can, despite some points of view. So the the Potash Road discontinuation request stands before us. Is there anyone that would like to make a motion about that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Michael, to approve that request. All right, that's the request from the Belagors to finalize the discontinuation that was begun 5 years ago. Okay, is
And
there,
and in our conversation, it's been moved and seconded, and we all agreed that we recommend that the Ewens and the Belagors work it out between them with our blessing. and our hope for amicable neighborhood relations, which seemed to be what both of them were hoping for, both families.
Okay, so there we have that motion on the floor. Is there any conversation there I see in the online? I will call on Anna Klein with 3 minutes for a conversation about this motion, please.
I had my hand up for the previous thing. Is it okay to speak briefly?
Yes, sure, please.
Yeah.
But your hand went down. I didn't see it anymore.
It's been up for a while, forever. I don't know. I just had a little thing to add, which is just that I'm someone who's, when I'm able to, tries to volunteer for our town. And I really appreciate what Tara's doing to try to bridge, between folks who are feeling upset about our town government and the town government. But I want to say that what is deterring or making me feel nervous about volunteering is not, having to sign a document or whatever. It's actually these multiple lawsuits and the negative. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remove judgment from my voice, but just the energy of litigious actions constantly in our town. It's so hard. And I've said this before, but I just want to say again that I think we are such a small town and everybody is trying their best. And I am concerned that, I'm glad that we're taking time to look at the conflict of interest stuff and clarify it, but I am concerned that there's nothing that's ever going to be enough. And we're racking up these legal bills, and I'm starting to feel like, do we need to think about how do we recoup some of this money that we're just bleeding out for these lawsuits that I still don't even understand the basis of. And so to me, this conflict of interest thing, the most important thing is that we are clear with everyone that volunteers in our town in whatever capacity, what the definition is of conflict of interest. And that seems to be the thing that people disagree about. Anyway, I'm rambling, but it's very upsetting.
Thank you.
And thanks.
Thanks so much. Thanks for your comments. Thanks.
Okay,
All right, so
we're voting on the road.
well, I'm sorry, but we have one more hand up about this. Jason, would you like to speak about Potash Road discontinuation request? You have 3 minutes.
I don't have anything to say about the Potash Road. I got something to say, continuing with what Anna Klein said, just the same thing.
Thank you.
Well, wait a minute. I mean, you just gave Anna Klein some time to speak about that, did you not?
Thank you.
Did you not give Anna Klein some time to speak about something other than the agenda item? And you're just going to exclude me?
Yes, that's the fact.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that's not exactly true. You missed Anna Klein's hand in the air. So it's giving equal time to a previous thing, not reopening the discussion for more comment on the thing that is not on the table at
Correct.
the moment.
I agree.
That's correct.
It has nothing to do with limiting Jason versus Anna. Anna's hand was missed, period.
Thank you for
Okay.
that, Steve.
Oh, wait a minute. Anna said I had nothing to say about this. She said she had something to say about it in a previous agenda item. You let her talk. And I said the same thing.
Jason, my hand has been up since the beginning of the meeting. So
Me too.
and-
I know.
Yeah,
I
but
know, Anna. Mine's
you
been
got-
right up
you-
there.
Jason,
I just want to say that you got to
I
speak
know.
and I
put it
didn't.
right back
So,
up. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
so I spoke and you spoke. We both spoke.
yeah, so everyone's spoken evenly, it's square. We're all keeping track. Everything's in order here. Thanks very much. We'll move ahead then with this vote about the Potash Road discontinuation request. Is there, we're all in the room, so we can, are all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any saying no? Any abstaining? Okay, so here we go. That is a long story. That was a 5-year story, that one. So we got that taken care of.
And we got to correct one of our mistakes,
Yes,
and that
another
makes
one of
me
them,
so
yes.
happy.
Yeah.
One of my mistakes,
Yes.
not any of yours.
It wasn't even really
Not
your mistake.
specifically.
Don't take
Well,
too much.
no, I'm not mea culpa.
Let's, folks, in the interest of time, let's move ahead. We're going to go to new business in the interest of time. I had hoped that Tara and I could take a few minutes to explain to you and to the community about the capital improvement plan actions that have been going forward.
I'm Eric.
What did I say?
You sit there.
Oh, God, thank you. I'm so sorry. I'm
We've
obviously,
been here a long time.
I'm always, a little bit flustered. So, Erica and I had hoped to be able to speak about that tonight, but I would beg your forgiveness if we would table that and move it to the next time. There's no decisions that would be made tonight, except a decision that I can talk about without talking about the capital improvement plan. And I'll mention that right now. That's that I would propose that the select board have an information hearing, sharing meeting with the public on Monday, October 16th. That's not a regular board meeting, but that we would be prepared, and we can talk about it at next board meetings, but we would be prepared to speak with the community and listen to the community about the capital improvement plan and what plans we have for rolling out the next 5-year plan. A lot of work has been done, and it's very solid, very good work. There's some really good ideas at work here for us to move forward. And so I think in order for us to do that, to have a public hearing, we need to approve that as a board.
You mean we need a motion?
Yeah, so we need a motion.
So would that be at the same time as our usual
Yes, this will be our
select board
regular time,
meeting is?
yes.
Okay, well, I so move.
Is there a second? Okay, we got two. We'll take Rusty. All right, so is there any discussion on that point? Yes, Doris?
Yes, I originally wanted to be on the agenda to talk about the capital improvement.
Yeah, I realize that.
Yeah, I know you realize it, and I was shut down because tonight was gonna be the night where we were gonna be able to talk
Yeah.
about it.
Well, maybe we
So, I've got 3 minutes, don't I?
Yes, you do.
So, my thing is, we're doing this whole new capital improvement thing, where we had one started in 2017, right? Where I read through the whole thing numerous times and all the suggestions. And I am wondering, I'm on hell-bent about the historical building we have in the center of town here that has been left to rot. Basically, the thing is rotting. And in the meantime, we've had a library, we put $100,000 into a big library expansion plan. Well, across the road, the building rots. We've had bicycle path feasibility studies, which would go right past the rotting building. Now, part of the select board's duty is to keep town buildings in good shape. And my question was, why is that one being ignored?
Yeah, I hear you.
You're talking about the meeting house?
No, I'm talking about the historical society where there
The
isn't a
museum.
stick.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there isn't a bit of glazing in the windows. The windows, one of them had to actually be totally replaced last year because of it, nothing's been done to it. So we have a capital improvement plan where somebody came, we paid to have somebody come and check over all the buildings, this is what needs to be done. And nothing was done.
Yeah. You're right.
So now we're gonna go, oh, we're gonna get a new plan.
No, not
Or
quite.
redo the new, like, why? So here's a question, why is that building being ignored?
I think that, I'll just answer quickly and don't want to open up into a big broad discussion. And Erica, if you'd help me here, but I think the building is not being ignored any longer. There's a plan right now, or moving right now with the Historical Society to address the very issues that, yes, were not addressed prior. And partly because of Erica's oversight here, we're beginning to be able to put some of these things in place. So I think that, I'm sorry it's not happening today, I wish it were, but I think there's a plan being developed right now to address the very issues that are part of the plan.
Well, you don't start like looking about painting in the middle of September.
Well, that's not the only issue, I think.
Right.
I think there are a number of issues. And so it's not to say that it's gonna start happening right now, and I hear you, Dolores, I totally hear you. It's a problem, and we're working on it, and we're trying to get it going, and I think it's gonna happen. I mean, unlike the prior efforts, or non-efforts. Non-efforts. There were efforts.
This has been going on for, I mean, the place needed to be painted 4 years ago.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah.
It's historical. I
Yeah.
mean,
No question.
I'm playing catch up a little bit.
yeah, I'm not saying it's your fault, Erica, or it's any fault, but I'm just wondering why, when we have a town building that's historical, we get the village designation so we can have all this done.
Mm-hmm.
And right in the middle of the village, we have the Historical Society that is actually an historical building that belongs to the town that is literally rotting.
Hear you, totally hear you, and we understand, and when we talk about the capital plan, improvement plan, we're not making a whole new plan. The intention of that plan was to roll projects forward, so we're checking with every single one of our asset managers, of which the Historical Society is one of those, and we're doing the research to figure out what actually needs to be done with all of them, and we're charting out for the next 5 years what needs to get done, and that's what we're working on right now. And I'm very confident in saying that the Museum and the Historical Society is part of that process. And if I'm right, I may be wrong, because Danny's doing things all the time with the hideaway department, but this one's right up at the front of our thinking.
Yes.
It's not being tabled any longer.
Well, one of my questions was going to be, is like, how do you decide what's on?
Yeah.
I mean, we have
Yeah.
a certain amount of buildings in town.
Mhm.
We got the new roof and siding on the town garage last year.
Well, what happened in the previous 5 years, and we can say very openly, this is part of the discussion we're gonna have, very openly, that a lot of things in that 5-year plan got done, and some things didn't get done. And that's what we're evaluating right now. And some of the things you're mentioning, some of the things that did not get done. And so we wanna be sure that those things that did not get done. That's because they were cited, they were named, and they were even estimated cost-wise, and we need to get them done. And that's what we're aiming toward right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as, we can have, I think it would be better if we talk to the entire community, not because I want to hide anything. I just think it'd be more conducive if we talk to the entire community about how timing decisions are made. And we're learning about that as we go. And so we still have more work to do to figure that out. I don't have a good answer for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I hear you, and we hear you, and we're on it, I think. I'm sorry that it's a thorn in your side. I'm sorry that it's taken this long to deal with.
Well, it should be a thorn in everybody's side.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it up.
So, let's continue to talk, because we will have the capital improvement plan on the next select board meeting. And as we prep for that meeting, if we vote for it, if we vote for October 16th, then we can be in touch with you about prepping for that as well. So we're all on the same good page. Okay.
So do we need a motion for that October meeting?
Yes.
We haven't got a motion yet. Okay, is there a motion to have an October 16th meeting? Thank you, Michael. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Rusty. All right, now I see Tammy's hand. Tammy?
Hi. Yeah, I actually have a couple of questions. So the first question, the October 16th meeting, it'll be open to the public. I'm curious, will it be a Zoom meeting? Is it also going to be recorded? Will it be along the same lines as the select board meeting?
Yes, I imagine it will. I don't know the answer to that right now, Tammy. We just got a date, so yeah.
Okay, and then my last question, I was under the impression that the capital improvement plan was supposed to be updated annually. Correct. Am I correct in believing that?
Yes, and I'll just quickly say that from the best of our understanding, looking at it, there were parts of it that were updated annually, but the entire document as a whole didn't roll forward with suitable reports and understanding in the community. And that's what we're aiming to try to set up a system to correct.
So we're gonna start doing it the way the policy is written, so that every year we will know what okay, great.
Our hope.
It's a huge undertaking.
It's a huge undertaking. Jason, I see your hand. Do you have a comment on this for 3 minutes? No?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the capital improvement plan was established years ago. It was before we had our finance advisory committee even established. Our select board established a finance advisory committee chairperson. It was Sheila Morse. And she has been the finance advisory committee chairperson for this entire time. So we asked for these annual reports on the capital improvement plan. What does it look like? And it says clearly in our policy that it's annually. The select board's supposed to tell us what they're spending their money on, where they're getting it from, what grants are coming from. Our finance advisory committee chairperson, Sheila Moore, said that she wanted these documents, but she hasn't been able to get them. And so now we have Zon Estes and we have Sheila Morse, who is our finance advisory committee chairperson again, who is now dictating how this plan, this capital improvement plan, is going to move forward. Well, we have a capital improvement needs assessment that was done years ago that says, hey, look, these are all our buildings, these are all our equipment, this is how we're going to maintain them. And they didn't do any of that. They didn't follow any of that plan. In fact, they didn't even do anything. They don't even have a capital improvement plan. It doesn't exist. You ask Sheila Morse, who is, again, our finance advisory committee chairperson, she will tell you that this plan doesn't exist. And so now you have Zon, our chairman, and Sheila Morse trying to convince this town that they are going to sort this out. And so why isn't there anything on our town report about the town library? I mean, there's nothing there. And we were told by Peter Rood that this was all a part of the capital improvement plan. But then all of a sudden, when we voted against it, all this money's gone. We can't even find it. And here we are again. We've got our chairman the chairman appoints, the select board appoints the finance advisory committee per chair. So they appoint her, and now we have to listen to think that, yeah, they've got our best interest in mind. They certainly care about the historical society more than the library. I mean, they certainly care about other things in Guilford that aren't on their agenda, but yet they won't put it in writing. And for 5 years, this has been a part of our plan. So they don't follow the capital improvement plan. They don't follow our conflict of interest policy. They don't follow our purchasing policy. They don't follow anything. And here we are. And now we're going to just let the chairman and the appointed finance advisory committee chairperson, who is also directly associated with the Friends of Algiers as their treasurer, sort this out for us as our town. This is so ridiculous. I don't know how much more I need to say or what more I need to say to just make this point so much more clear that there is a corruption problem in this town. It is absolutely corrupt.
Thank you very much, Jason.
And you look, and raise your hand. It's fine.
Thank you.
I'm telling the truth, and I can prove it time and time again.
Thank you.
Your 3 minutes is up.
All right.
Thank
you. Let's vote then on the notion of having a public hearing sharing meeting on October the 16th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Thank you. All right, let's move on in new business, the property use agreement, radio equipment on Sweet Pond.
Okay.
Erica.
And now for something completely different. So we have some residents on Sweet Pond Road. Actually, let me start back. We have some radio equipment that is located on Sweet Pond Road. And the highway department uses it to boost their radio signal because it doesn't get down to Green River when that equipment is anywhere else in town, like on the garage where it started out. So it is sitting on Sweet Pond Road on a private citizen's property. It's consists of a little shed where the radio equipment is and an electrical panel meter and a telephone pole with the antenna on it. So it takes up, I don't know, 20 square feet, would you say?
It's more than that.
More than that? Okay, sorry. So that little spot was just sort of handshake deal 5 years ago.
It was 2019.
Yep, 2019, so 4 years ago. So, but now the property has changed hands and the new owners have requested the town pay rent on that property, on the equipment that is there. And being highway equipment, Danny does see the use of using it to boost the signal. Otherwise, there would be dead spots down in Green River. And so we have, the landowner has proposed $100 a month that the town pay rent for that little piece of land where the equipment is. So that's it. And Danny has said that that seems reasonable and that it's probably worth doing. So that's where we are. And I can draw the lease. So the term is $100 a month plus a 5% increase annually. And the lease term can be, we can move on from the lease if we find a different way to do that. There are other stipulations like the original landowner, and I think the current ones too, would like to retain the electricity that's there, but if the equipment, if the equipment moves, they will keep the electricity, and we could do that at any time.
Erica, I don't understand what that means.
What?
That if we move the equipment, the electricity would stay there. Is there a transformer or
It's not a transformer, it's just a panel.
I see. And would this come out of the highway budget?
Yeah.
And the money is there for the highway budget?
Well, it's not budgeted, that's why.
Right,
I'm
clearly.
talking to you guys about
But
this.
I mean, it would be, there's money in the
It would
highway
be, yeah, it
budget
would
that
probably
could cover that.
Be a highway reserve or, yeah.
Dan feels there would be,
Yeah,
workable.
yes, and we checked it.
And going forward, not just for this year.
And there's something about that specific spot on Sweet Pond Road that's really worth sort of, it broadcasts outward and, I'm wondering whether there's another Sweet Pond Road household that might, just let us do it for free, But on the other hand, if that's what Dan wants, he must have put his thought into it.
Right, I think moving the whole situation is cumbersome. So that's the thought process there.
So I would propose that we have a motion to simply authorize, if we're all comfortable, so I don't even know whether we are, we don't have to talk, thank you. We need a motion on the floor, right? So I would propose that we have a motion to authorize Erica to just take care of this situation for us. So drop the lease, that advised by our lawyers, and then if we're comfortable with the fee and the rate and the understanding, then Erica could take care of signing it for us, even if we don't have to bring it back to review it. That would be I'll make that motion, I guess, actually. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Michael. Now is there a discussion here at the board? I see you.
I went to the bathroom, so I kind of missed it, and I know this has been a long meeting.
Yeah, so we have radio equipment, the town has radio equipment on Sweet Pond Road, on a private landowner's property, and it had been free, but now there's a new owner, so the new owner would like $100 a month.
Where is
It's
this?
It's the Tustons. You know where that is?
Yeah.
So it's right across, it's like there's a field across
Okay.
from, so it's right there by the road.
Turn the corner, it's kind of right there.
I
Okay.
just thought it was an outhouse.
Yeah, is there any other, you identify yourself and what road you
Sure.
on? Yeah.
The vice chair? Oh, sure, I'm happy to come up.
Good evening. My name is Hannah Tustin. I'm the property owner for the property that we're discussing, and just want to talk about this, just for a quick second. So my husband and I did take over the property in July of this year, and I know that the radio equipment has been there for a couple of years now. But certainly, visually and use-wise, it's certainly an impact to our property. I did bring a picture tonight. If people aren't really familiar with it, you're certainly happy to pass it. I'm happy to have you pass it around. And we understand that it's an essential piece of equipment for the town, but ultimately it does impact the way that we're able to use the property. I know that everybody's very busy, and, I certainly don't, expect that the town highway department is going to take care of it. But it's added maintenance for us because it's not a piece of property that now can be, hayed by the farmer who currently hays it. We have to go in there and do added maintenance around the building and stuff like that. So we're just, kind of seeking to make that right. We're happy to house it and work with the town, but just, looking for, an agreement and to protect everybody. Right now, there really isn't anything in a legal agreement that allows access for the town. It's certainly not, no trespass or anything else, but we just, wanted to make sure everything was, everybody's I's were dotted and T's were crossed.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions here for this? Okay. So, Dolores?
Does that have to be insured then? Is that a piece of property, or is there an insurance policy involved with that?
I'm gonna take a stab and say that the equipment is covered by our passive insurance.
We'll follow up on that.
Yeah, I will confirm.
And that was actually a question we had as well. If somebody was there working on it, whether it was an employee of the town or a contractor of the town, and they were injured while they were working on that, and I was assuming that the property owner wouldn't have any liability there.
I think those are things that are probably, my guess is the lawyer would take a very careful look at it.
I
make sure
can
that's
talk
part
to you
of the
in more
deal.
detail.
Yeah.
We'll bang it out.
Okay, excellent.
So
I'm wondering, could you, I see this as a viable option for the near future, but long-term, I'm just wondering, to do our own due diligence, could you reach out to a few town administrators and see if they have any similar situations of tiny buildings?
Sure.
It's a very small building. Just to find out if this is a reasonable
rate, you mean?
Yeah.
Do we know who designed that setup that Becca just showed us in the first place? How long it's been there, and have they put
It's
that
been there
thing
since about 2019.
20, okay.
It's like a little outhouse.
Yes, that's what it looks like indeed.
Maybe it needs a move.
Do you want it off your property?
We're fine with it staying, or we're fine with it going, either way. I was in municipal service for 11 years as director of public works. Technically, any installation of infrastructure on a property really requires a legal agreement. Despite how small it appears or anything, it's really for the protection of the property owner and the town as well. So like I said, we're very happy to host that, and I know that geographically that it is a unique spot for accessing the Green River radio needs, but we're certainly not here to I don't want to use the word blackmail. We're not looking to force anybody's hand on anything. Yeah. It's just we're just kind of trying to make it right. And
yeah.
I'm gonna throw this out there, and not to take away from what you have, that it's there, but I do have land that's not being used on Abijah Prince Road, right down the hill, and I'm not doing anything with it right now, so I would offer that to the town. Just not that it's a lot of money, but I don't know if that's
Well, I think what we need to do is vote on the motion as it was made, and then if there's an opportunity, even if we pass it, there could be an opportunity to look at different scenarios or something like that. So I think we should, does that make sense to you? We should we have to vote on the motion that stands.
Yeah, and it's definitely not a big fee and it's already in place, so
Yeah.
that's just something to consider.
Yeah.
And we also don't know how much difficulty, hypothetically moving it
Right.
would be, or
Right.
whether the,
And the electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elijah Prince does not have electricity going on. Maybe it does that up at that end. But Elijah Prince is famous for having no electricity.
Right.
So just an additional
Yeah.
thought.
Like I said, I went to the bathroom and I'll never do that again.
I have a thought.
Technology may
Let's see.
change too in 5 years, so
That's true.
that might not be necessary anymore. So
Yeah.
that's just something
Yeah, okay.
to throw out there.
I just wonder if it could be that this agreement was like for a period of time and other options would be looked at during that period of time.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I think that we can look into that and see what
and I think it's sort of a on-demand kind of thing, like the town can move its.
I mean,
Yeah, we'll be drawing
ultimately,
that up.
anything that needs to change in any kind of agreement would have to be with agreement with the landowners,
Yeah.
whichever way it changed, So, yeah. I'm sure there'll be cushions for stepping out of the agreement one way or the other and all that kind of thing. So we'll build that all in. So, all right. So let's go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor of authorizing Erica to take care of this situation for the select board, so you can probably say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right.
hurrah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much for coming. All right, we move on to the warrants at this
Ah,
point.
the warrants.
So Tara, comfortable with
Let's push over the page here. I'd like to make a motion to approve the warrants as written.
You have to state them out loud.
Yeah,
Okay.
I state them out loud first.
Well,
No,
just
you're fine.
just in
Okay.
addition to as written, we need to know what they are.
Right. So payroll for the week of 9/3/23 was $7,392.10. Payroll for the week of 9/10/23 was $7,776.32. We had an expense warrant number 2405 for $46,536.95. An expense warrant number 2405V for $1,482.87. And then an expense warrant number 2405F for $65.
For a total of,
$63,253.24.
and I second that. Is there any discussion or any notes about large-scale expenditures?
Most of the expenditures were on diesel, fuel, gravel, and repairs of equipment. Expense warrant number 2405V was payroll taxes, that was the $1,482.87. And then we had an expense warrant number 2405F was hunting license.
Oh, and budget.
Okay. All right, so all in favor of approving the warrants, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? All right, we'll move on to the next note in the agenda, which is other business, and I don't believe there is any other business. Let's look at correspondence.
Not seeing it.
Okay. There was you mentioned it in your report, the notice of the DB fiber, but that's not, it was just a notice for us, the notice of their audit. Okay. All right, so bear with me as I read the actions from the previous meeting. We approved the minutes of the prior meeting of August 14th. We approved the RUC update and then I think an alternate as well. We approved the warrants and we approved the adjustment to an employee contract following an executive session. In this meeting, we approved the minutes of the previous meeting, August 28th. We tabled the conflict of interest discussion. We approved we approved that one additional select board member would be part of email correspondence with the town's attorneys. And we also appointed Tara to that position. We approved the Potash Road discontinuation request. We approved an October 16th public meeting information hearing and sharing about the capital improvement plan. We approved of a property use agreement for radio equipment on Sweet Pond, and we approved the warrants for today. All right, actions to be taken are we will once again revisit the conflict of interest discussion and move toward a good outcome there when we can. And then I would take a motion to adjourn. If we are
I thought we were just gonna move in.
Is there a second to Rusty's motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Brenda. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very kindly. See you in 2 weeks.